And so now we are here to talk about our reactions, our feelings, our emotions around Avatar 2, The Way of Water. I'm OC.
I'm Crystal.
I'm Chuku, although I'm going to talk about facts, so I'm not going to just talk about my emotions over here. Okay.
We're rooted in cold hard facts.
The best way to analyze movies is by looking at the facts. So we watched it this last weekend. This is opening weekend. We watched it and I thoroughly had a fun time while watching this movie. I thought it was, for me personally, a step up from the first movie. I thought there was a lot more action. I recently saw the first movie again when they did the Avatar re-release in theaters. I think that was like 2 months ago or something like that at this point. And they did the re-release, and that was my first time actually seeing it in 3D because I missed the theatrical run when Avatar first came out. I only saw it on I think I saw it on my laptop, to be honest. So this was my first time seeing it on the big screen in 3D, and it was a fun experience watching that. But then watching Avatar 2, The Way of Water, I felt like it just stepped everything up. And of course, like it's been 13 years since that first movie. So, I mean, you would expect that things would be stepped up to a certain degree. But what did you guys think about it?
Personally for me, I really love this movie. Like, I mean, I knew I was going to enjoy it just because I was going to watch it in 3D, and I felt like Avatar is a movie you have to watch in 3D. Like, I don't know how anybody watch it not 3D, but I get it. Sometimes it's one of those things where you don't have the access or you just don't like the goggles or whatever. So I get that. But for me, this movie was not just that it was a good experience watching in 3D, but the story was pretty tight and the action was just really impressive. Like, this is better than most of these Marvel movies we've been watching in terms of action. So to me, this has probably been I'm gonna put it like in my top movie of the year, honestly, just because it's just, to me, I really loved everything of it. It felt like an experience, and it felt like something unique. So
I don't think that's crazy.
I don't think
that's crazy.
I mean, there is an argument whether we should have waited this long to get the movie. I think that could be a separate discussion going in. But other than that, again, top movie of the year for me right now.
Oh, wow. That's a really bold statement.
Out of all of them.
Maybe not number one, but it's definitely in the top. Okay. Like, I'm gonna have to sit a little bit, look into all the other movies, but for sure we'll definitely be in there.
It's I agree, like visually it's definitely a step up from the first one for sure. And I recently on the re-release watched Avatar, the first one, in 3D in theaters. And it still holds up, like it still looks really good. But yeah, there's no doubt that the second one looks better. I know that you guys are like Avatar super fans. I feel like a lot of guys are, but like I'm definitely in the like school of thought that these Avatar movies, they kind of have a generic story to me. I think it's fine though. If you're gonna have a blockbuster film, it might as well be like an easily digestible story that's like great for the whole family to understand and watch. Here is that I think maybe we will lose some people because the first Avatar film was like, I mean, it was when people were regularly going to theaters, so of course like some things are stacked against Avatar 2 because we're like still in a post-COVID kind of thing. Right. But like the first Avatar film was a cultural phenomena. Right? Like it was, I hate using this word, but it was like pretty iconic, right? Mm-hmm. Like everyone was talking about it and everyone was watching it. I feel like they have lost a little steam because of what Chuku mentioned, and like it has taken them like way too long to like release this one. And we understand why. Like James Cameron himself said, like, we're just waiting around for the technology to get better and better to capture exactly what James Cameron's vision is, which is like fine, okay, but like at this point, the people that are really, really excited about that and those things are like Avatar fans of visual effects, whereas like maybe the everyman doesn't care so much about those things and won't even watch it in 3D like we're doing. And that's where I feel like there will be a disconnect for some of that general audience. I think I have one other thing to say. Oh, another I think another part where I think maybe like some people will be lost is like that whole like first 40 minutes, which is just exposition literally being like
Yeah,
during a whole voiceover by
yeah,
Jake
yeah,
Sully,
yeah.
which makes it even worse. I hate like exposition to begin with, but like when it's an exposition with like a voiceover and like it had like literal like flashback like scenes in it, it was like, I don't know. For me, it's no secret I don't like exposition. So for me, it was like pretty unenjoyable, those parts. And I think like, but like, I think that's like a widely unliked thing. I think other people are saying like that was like not a good thing, but it does recover. Like after that, like once they get into it, like it's like really cool to see like, to see people and like finally meet Jake Sully's family and get to know each family member one by one. So
I think I
Wait,
definitely
40 minutes? I don't
It
know if
wasn't
it
after
was
40
40
minutes.
minutes.
I think it just
Yeah, I was
felt
about to
I'll
say,
say
maybe.
this: it felt like 40 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
I definitely noticed that while watching the movie, that the voiceover exposition. I think it's one of those things that you could take the time to show it, but I feel like that whole in between time would have been its own movie, to be honest, if they took that time to show it. So it might have been just an issue of lesser of two evils, I guess. But no, I
Sure.
definitely agree that kind of bogged things down a little bit at the beginning, even for me. While it didn't interrupt my enjoyment, I definitely noticed it. I was like, huh, okay. But the rest of the movie was still fantastic to me. Yeah, how did you guys feel about the way that this movie is being received? Because a lot of the box office numbers, it came in a little bit less than they projected, but on the other hand, it's double what the first one was, and the first one is the highest grossing film of all time. And so and we still have the rest of the holiday season left to go. We have Christmas and New Year's coming up, and there's not a lot of movies coming out in the next couple of weeks. So I think worldwide already it's at like 450 million. And so I think that the possibility of it making a lot of money is there. So and we know that James Cameron is planning on doing 5 of these movies.
5?
So,
I thought it was
yeah.
4.
He said 5 if it made a lot of money.
Oh, okay.
He said 5 if it made a lot of okay.
Yeah, he said if it didn't, the next one's gonna be the last one.
I thought you said 4.
Oh, is that what he
I thought the
said?
plan was 4.
I heard
saw
5.
4.
I heard
4.
5.
Like, hey, Mo, who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think
we'll
maybe the number is, we don't know unless it makes a lot of money.
right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the way that things are going, it's definitely going to get over $1 billion. I think he said he wanted it to get over 2 billion, but I feel like that's pretty lofty, even for Avatar.
Yeah.
I know the first one got
Yeah.
is at 2.9 billion, but this is there's a lot of things like you mentioned going against it, where we're kind of we're still coming out of the pandemic season. Movie is like many years too late,
Yeah.
and the cultural steam really isn't there as much. Now, James Cameron can still surprise all of us, and this movie can still be in theaters in 6 months and still be making a ton of money. So I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But I think that it's definitely going to hit over $1 billion. It's interesting. Somebody put into perspective that like this movie made in one weekend more than Black Adam made in its entire theatrical run. So
I don't know if any movie should brag about that. Black Adam is Black Adam, so
it's
Yeah.
funny to think about. But it's cool to get another. We've gotten a couple of like really big blockbuster films this year that are outside of the whole superhero model, with Top Gun and then now Avatar. I think it's cool to have that kind of breath of fresh air, a little bit. Just the superhero genre seems to be getting stale on a couple of different accounts with Marvel Phase 4 not being as well received, and then the chaos of the DC.
I don't know. We want to go into that.
We don't
that
have
can
to
be
go
its
into
that.
own video.
But I
R.I.P.
appreciate that we are getting some fresh material to really just sit back and enjoy.
I think so too. I mean, Avatar is an original property, and like it is considered like a franchise now, and it's its own thing.
Mhm.
Kind of circling back to like how it's kind of under delivering on its projections, right? I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but I feel like it might even be like a generational thing because when we watched it last, I mean, what were we old enough to be like going into theaters alone, or did we watch it with our parents? I'm pretty sure I watched it with my parents.
Yeah.
Now that
Old
we are
enough.
old enough to like buy our tickets, I feel like a lot of us aren't like taking our parents to see this film. I feel like I don't know if that's like the universal thing that's happening. And I also feel like this younger generation is very contrarian. I feel like they're not going to take anything that people say at face value anymore. And we're seeing this in like marketing trends and stuff like that. There's like a big issue of trust. So just people saying like, oh, James Cameron is the GOAT and Avatar is an amazing franchise. I feel like there's a lot of like the younger generation that are like, well, I've never heard of James Cameron and how can it be the GOAT? This is the GOAT. I don't know. And like, I just feel like there is like a big, maybe part of Gen Z that feels underserved in certain parts of media. And I feel like Avatar maybe can't be as iconic as it was for us just because of like the times.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm like
I get what you're
articulating what
saying.
I'm trying to articulate
'Cause
correctly.
I've even seen some of like prior to the opening weekend, some of the hate around Avatar online, just like people hoping for it to kind of fail, I guess. And I'm not sure exactly where that is coming from. I understand that people in recent years like to dog on the first Avatar by saying that it's just Pocahontas in space. But I don't know why that I don't know why the sentiment then goes to like, oh, the next movie has to fail then. But I have seen that floating around on the internet, which kind of sucks. It feels like the movie fandom and just like fandom in general is kind of becoming a toxic problem, and I'm not sure where this train ends. Right? Because
not only that, but like unfortunately film is kind of a dying art. Like we see the trends year over
Yeah.
year. Less people go in and less people show an interest in film.
Yeah.
Which breaks my heart. And so that's like something else that's like stacking up against, you know, the blockbuster as it stands, you know. So yeah, it's a lot to think about, but it is cool to see Avatar kind of be that social experiment right now. So like I am glad to have it be released because all eyes are on it and its performance, and whatever comes out of it will be like kind of a learning experience, and
Yeah.
you know, kind of excited to see where that goes.
yeah.
I think it goes back to like the first Avatar kind of being its own aesthetic, right? It was so cool to have, like, before we didn't really like 3D movies, so for the
Yeah.
first Avatar to actually push 3D movies, that's like a cool thing. But now that that's gone, it comes down to like how it performs as a normal movie, which it still was good, like really good, but it's like that appeal of it being like this cool 3D experience is no longer we're not getting that same immersive experience, or we're not getting that same unique experience, if you will. So I think that's what it comes down to. But one thing I do like about this film, and I'm hoping, you know, people who are the general audience could at least open themselves to, is that, you know, again, it is a 3D movie experience, and it's something that you can't just, you know, it's not something you can just watch on your home. It's not just something you can be, you know, hey, I gotta get my pot before I watch movies. Now you gotta actually, you know, go in the theater, put the glasses on and all that. So
Well,
I think
people are taking shrooms and watching it, and I think that enhances things.
I guess that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. It's interesting generation we live in with that becoming a big thing. Just to sustain watching long media nowadays, you have to put on shrooms and whatnot. But I'm curious, how do you guys feel about it being 3 hours? Did you guys feel the long pull, or was it just engaging the whole time for y'all?
I have to say, well, I liked the film. I thought it was pretty engaging. I like a long film. I think films in general should be longer so that we can get, a better story anyway. So that's just my personal belief. But I get motion sick.
Oh yeah.
And around the parts when they're first assimilating to the like sea people ways, and there is a lot of like kind of turbulent camera work and stuff in and out of the water, I was getting sick. And for those, couple minutes, time was like ticking by very slowly for me, because I was like having to just kind of like look at the horizon on the screen and be like, okay, that's not moving, that's gonna not make me sick. And literally it came up to the point where like when they showed that preview in theaters of like the sun finally meeting that like big whale that like didn't have a fin.
Yeah.
I had already seen that point, so I closed my eyes the whole time just to recover.
I'm sorry.
And that's that's a tip for anyone out there who's like getting sick. Go ahead, close your eyes, watch that preview online, and then close your eyes during that part, use the restroom, whatever, and you'll feel better.
Yeah, I personally didn't mind the runtime. My thing is, I love longer movies as long as they're good.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Agreed.
the length of a movie doesn't necessarily matter if the movie itself is a solid movie. So I felt like I enjoyed myself during the movie. I felt like it was a solid movie, and the runtime kind of served that purpose. There are movies that are long and they don't need to be long, and it just sucks and it's horrible to get through. This wasn't one of them for me. So
yeah, that's good. I can imagine with the 3D glasses, because as much as I did enjoy watching the movie in 3D, with that runtime, it could be annoying. You could start getting headaches and all that stuff. So I could see how that can be an issue. But other than that, yeah, like the longer, as long as they build the characters well, the better. And really enjoyed the film. So,
yeah, if
absolutely.
the characters are likable, I want it to be longer. I want to stay with them as long as possible, because movies to me are a form of escapism, and for any other film lovers out there, I feel like the sentiment is the same.
I think this movie is the perfect form of escapism. Like you literally feel like you're in a different universe.
Yeah.
It's just to me, it was like a giant video game. So
yeah,
it was fun. Any last minute thoughts? I'm excited for the next movie, the future of the franchise. I know that they have like 90% of it already filmed, so that'll be fun. Once that comes out. I don't know when it's gonna be, but hopefully it's soon. Hopefully it's not in another,
Yeah, as long as it keeps pushing film forward, like as was said with Top Gun and with Nope, and now with Avatar, like anything that pushes film forward and makes technology better or whatever, like I'm all for it, because
right.
It's just gonna renew interest in film, and I'm all for that.
Yeah, and just like watching it and the spectacle of all of the stuff, the rain scenes, the particles in the air with the 3D, it was
perfect.
So well done. So well done. I loved it. This is the type of movie that I truly enjoy, like the big sweeping epics, I love this type of movie.
Great.
Yeah.
I
have to highlight the action. I'm sorry, but that action was really good. This was really like, at some point I was like, wait a minute, is this a PS5? Like the way the 60 frame per second and all that stuff was just,
it was so good.
It literally is, yeah.
So anytime I see good action, I have to call it.
Yeah, it was great. I think that I loved it.
Yeah.
All right, so definitely let us know what you thought about the movie down in the comments below, and hopefully you loved it as much as we did, and we will see you next time.
Peace.